you can get from 21% accuracy to 97% accuracy with AI. And you want to know how you do it? All right, g'day guys. Thank you very much for that, Eve. My name's Adam Cogan, and my talk today is from Copilot to the Garden of Eden. And this is really the journey of how SSW for the last couple of years has transitioned our, from zero AI to 100% AI development with all our developers. It's really been a massive transformation, and it has also been a big change for our customers and the knowledge workers that we work with. So this is how I've broken the talk down tonight. I'm going to go through kind of the history of AI, what we've lived through so far. I want to go through just a couple of simple scenarios with, say, Excel, Power BI, PowerPoint, etc. And then I want to talk about comms, because communication inside a company with emails and the way you talk about this stuff has changed, plus our phone systems, and these 9 traits that I've identified with the developers and what those shifts have been like. And I want to give a couple of examples in different industries and then pontificate about the future. So this is me, Adam Cogan. I am a Microsoft Regional Director and MVP. I blog at adamcogan.com, and I'm the Chief Architect here. So I've been doing software forever, and my primary job is involved in consulting, going into companies with the other engineers here, and we develop up a system. We work out what we need and what they're going to get, try to mold what the customer wants. But we have also been working with Tina CMS. That's the best CMS out there, in my opinion. It's the simplest. It's just markdown files on GitHub. So obviously it has a great story there. But I have also been involved in 2 AI products. So one is called Yak Shaver, and we'll talk about this a little bit tonight, but that is how you automatically get something in the backlog in under a minute. And Eagle Eye, which looks at what we're doing on email and GitHub and gives you an insight into who's doing what across the organization, what topics they're talking about, etc. So I'll start with this, the history. Now, we started with some coding tools. We were using coding tools back in 2021. And then the world got ChatGPT. Now that was just it wasn't meant to explode. Nobody would have known it would explode like that. There was actually only one person working on the little chatbot, massive team working on the LLM, but weren't even sure how they were going to end up rendering all this in what way. And that little chatbot took off like nuts. And then everybody was waiting for it to get into the Office products. And then we got Copilot, and then the data engineers got changes to Microsoft Fabric or Snowflake. They're the 2 big dogs in the data space because data becomes even more important when you're developing an AI solution. And then I want to talk about Claude Co-Work, and the future. So this is kind of how it started. We got AI, and it was really helping us get code done faster. So you wouldn't have to know how to loop through an array or do a calculator. Developers got very quickly more productive. They stopped needing to go online and search all the time. There's stats about our number 1 favorite tool back then, which was Stack Overflow, and the stats just tanked like nothing else because and they actually said the stats now are what they were in the first year when it was released, and it wasn't very popular. So people really don't need to go to those things anymore because it's all within the tool. But all this was non-agentic, and it was just helping you get work done. And the knowledge workers out there got nothing. So I just want to, can I just ask, how many people here are familiar with what agentic means? Okay, so I think we have more than half, but I'll just give you the best example I can give you just to make sure we're on the same wavelength, because we'll be talking about this a bit more. But if I ask, Sam, will you go across the road and get me a coffee, right? You'd say, sure. Okay. So if he goes across and it's a bit late, he might come back and just say, sorry, there's no coffee available. If he was agentic, or let's just say he found a shop, he'd just go over and give me my coffee. There's my coffee. If he was agentic, he would then ask me a few questions. Sure, what would you like? And I'd tell him I'd like a latte, although my favorite coffee is a magic. And then he would then choose, he would ask me, do you care about price or quality? Well, I definitely care about quality. And then he would make a decision to get the good quality, but for the best price. And he might even ask me, do you want to get a coffee for anyone else? All right, that's agentic. So back here in 2022, we had these tools that were really popular, and the knowledge workers were now catching up. And you could do some plugins and custom GPTs, but all these were fairly read-only. And this here is a screenshot of our intranet. And this screenshot has lots of little things here. One's called SSW Sales Pro. And that's before we go to a meeting. If we take one of the, the account managers, we'll pick a developer to go to a meeting. And before they go to the meeting, they sit down, they ask a few questions like, okay, so what's this business do? How many offices do they have, etc. All these type of things, so that they're at least up to speed. Because it's better to not to turn up to a meeting and the developer ask, how many offices do you have? And it's much better to say, so I see you have 6 offices and you've opened one in China recently. How's that going? All right, that's a much better way of communicating. So we have this process of doing this, but we turn it into a GPT where the account manager can just ask the developer, can you just go through that process? We have other ones to book people in, and this one here, it's called we call it Spice, which you use it to get an image. Because when we put an image in a presentation, or we put an image in on our SSW rules, we want it to be in our colors, we want it to be a certain size, certain style. So this just does all that for you. So you ask, I want 2 developers sitting next to each other with 4 screens, at least the image will end up looking like what our designers would be happy with. But the point of this is, if you look at all the names here, Ulysses and Levi Jackson and these people, almost all of them, Seth Daly, they're all non-technical, non-developer, and they were writing all these GPTs to use AI in our office, which is pretty phenomenal. So then in 2023, we ended up with Copilot. And Copilot, there were some good demos you could do, but when you got into it and started using it, especially people that were just trying it out for the first time, they often reported not having a good experience. They were reporting that it told them what to do. Look it up, go here. I want to put this chart here. It would tell them how to put the chart there, etc. But the expectation was they wanted it to just do it for them. So there was a mixed reaction of all this. So then after that, and it's kind of, I would say there was a lot of memes about it. It was like Clippy 2.0. But I think by and large, many knowledge workers reported that they didn't feel smarter using it, and and it wasn't sticky. They went back to just doing their normal work. So meanwhile, devs were having a great time. We were loving, GPT. We got Cursor. A lot of tools came out. Gemini was getting great, and then Anthropic launched Claude, which Eve just talked about in the news. So Claude Code comes out in 2025, and devs are loving this. the knowledge workers did not use this. Now, it could have been part of the name. The name is Claude Code, which turns you off a little, but it wasn't just for coders. So you could ask it to say, I want a web page showing insights of data from this, like anyone that was non-technical could use this. However, people didn't use it other than devs, and devs loved it. And partly, being inside a terminal, I don't know if you think, Eve, would you use something in a terminal? Not really, no. So this is a bit scary. And I think mainly because of the user experience. Now, but the experience, once you've tried it, was great. And I would say a little bit, it felt like the Matrix. It's kind of a bit scary to use. So then we had Claude Co-Work come out. Now, how many people in here have used Claude Co-Work? So I have about 30% of you. Now, this is the best tip of the night. Go home and install Co-Work, right? This is phenomenal. And you can do a lot of stuff with this. Knowledge workers are absolutely loving it. And it's kind of funny. A lot of knowledge workers are going to find their first great experience with AI inside a Microsoft product is going to be with a non-Microsoft product, okay? So Claude Co-Work is agentic. It asks you when it wants more information. It works inside, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. And this presentation is a good example. This was built with Co-Work, right? Now, Microsoft have just done a partnership. This is just a few days old now with Claude Co-Work. It's a $35 billion investment. This must have been hard to make this decision with the amount of money spent with Copilot. But this is obviously, they can see that this is going to be a great tool for all Microsoft Office users. And so they've put down some serious cash for this. Now, I want you to remember something. See this slide here that I had before? I've been using PowerPoint for more than, I don't know, forever. I think definitely more than 25 years, right? And I wouldn't do a slide like this normally. I would put bullet points down the page. I know it's not the sexiest thing I could do, but if I had a great idea in between before the presentation and I wanted to put something between 2023 and 2025, I can't be bothered stuffing around, moving them along, all that stuff. I'm just not into it. I'm not that good, and I wouldn't put it in. So, but as you can see, my slides have got a bit better, and it was done automatically. So when I did, I went through the years. At the end of that, I went back and said, all right, I need an index slide. And I would normally copy the headings from each page and put it in there. But what did I do in this case? I said, in slide 5, please make this a summary of slides, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, having a little box for each year and a small subtitle. It should be an overview with a little node connecting to each one left to right. So I had a picture and I could see it could do anything. So I said that. Now I said little box. I didn't get exactly a little box and I was happy with that, right? It checks what it's going to be doing and you're good to go. And that's what I did. Now I want to tell you a couple of other scenarios inside SSW where we use Co-Work. Now, when we go and do when we see a customer for the first time, we usually sit down with them for a couple of days and work out what they actually need in their business. So, and under the covers, we are doing something. So we don't show them this, but under the covers, we have something like this. We have this Excel spreadsheet that we have, and we put all the things that they've asked us to do and we think we need. And the only things that the client's really looking for when we go to present is some of the bigger numbers. So we're telling them of what you've asked us for is 40 man days. You can see at the top and down the bottom, you can see, well, it's going to be, if you just want the MVP, the things that you said were core, well, that'll be 95K. But if you want everything and you want to pay it later, that'll be 123K, that type of thing. So they're the big ticket items. Now, what we do is we spend a couple of days and they tell us when they're ready for a presentation, and then we get the latest of all the data that we have collected, and it's usually a lot. And then we'll say, all right, we need a couple of hours and we'll present in your boardroom. So now the workflow has changed. And we say something like this. You open up PowerPoint, give me a spec review based on these estimates in the Northwind project. That's 15 seconds to write. We wait 5 minutes and we end up with a pretty nice looking PowerPoint. It will come back and say, look, I've just done a 9-slide deck. If you thought that was too long and you wanted a very succinct one, you'd say, look, make it 5 pages or whatever. But typically what you do is you open up and you make a few changes. So this is an example of what it did with that. It says, Northwind is an order management system covering product catalog. So it's just worked this out from what you've given it. 12 main work items were identified. The total estimate is 528 hours. The MVP is 51 man days. You change this and get rid of the M dashes, of course. Okay, that'd be handy. All right. But it's got a whole nice set of slides here, and it's a great way to start. Now you could refine that with a better prompt. Obviously what I gave, the prompt is pretty basic. Now I want to show another scenario of doing this, and that is you might have a whole bunch of data in HubSpot. You might have in our company, we have a whole lot of data in these Power BI reports for Eagle Eye, and there's heaps of them. And you can look through that and you can see who's sending the most emails, or who's doing the most check by emails, or as per our conversation emails, or in our company, who's doing induction, help, etc. And you can see who's doing what, and you can click on these and see stuff. But if you are just having a meeting and you just want to know quickly a little bit about something specific, you could give it a specific thing. Now I gave it a broad one based on these Power BI reports, create a presentation. And 10 seconds, and you wait 5 minutes, and you have a PowerPoint. It said, look, I've done an Eagle Eye presentation with 11 slides. And it's got some fun left of field stats. Didn't even ask it for that. So you open that PowerPoint and you end up with a whole bunch of things. And it will say, look, in this case, it gave me a whole lot of insights. Yuli sent 5,000 emails and he received 23,000. That's a 1-to-4 ratio. Adam sent 5,000 emails and received 91,000. That's a 1-to-18 ratio. And Penny sends 4,000 emails and received 21. And then it said Mehmet, he's receiving a lot of emails, but he's not in the top 14 senders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all these can make a nice quick summary, and you could give it a bunch of different data and it will correlate all that. So I will tell you that my prediction would be all these reporting tools will be the first things to go in the AI world, because it's so easy to get a graph of data, and all these skills of making, all these different reporting systems out there, they can be useful, especially for a basis of data. You do definitely need a good underlying set of data, but in terms of the reporting tools, most people will get very quickly at creating perfect reports for emails, for web pages, etc. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is comms and phones. Now, this is important. We make a big deal in this company of no AI slop. Okay, it's a really important thing. We don't like producing content that looks like AI or sounds like AI. So it's very easy to pick up the look, and it's very important to own the content. You can't send off an email with a bunch of M dashes and emojis everywhere. You can't put content down there and you say to, hey, James, what's that 93% referring to? And they go, I'm not sure. Where'd you get that from? Well, did you get it from ChatGPT? Yes. Okay, if you're gonna do that, you must know what you're putting in there. And if you're gonna put stuff in from ChatGPT, put it in and put from ChatGPT robot emoji. Make it clear, I've researched this and that's where I got it. And we have a rule on this, and I will just show that to you guys. You can have a quick look at it, but we have a rule on how we do this. So it's and we're very clear when we do that. We show an emoji. So a good example is to just put it there with the emoji. All right. So the next thing that I want you to care about is custom instructions. How many people here have modified their custom instructions? Okay, so that's just over half. The rest of you should definitely get those custom instructions right in all the ones you use, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, etc. Update it. Now, I saw Matt Wicks's one, and he uses it a fair bit, and he has it like this. Make it first person, scrappy, conversational, write like a senior dev ranting to a coworker, not authoring an essay. All right, and he has a massive markdown file of all this stuff. He says, open with a personal hook or problem statement, never a generic intro. So he's very clear. He's received responses over time, and as soon as he's got something he doesn't like, he puts it into his custom instructions. He says, put the problem first and the solution second, and don't do in conclusion or to sum up. He does not like the smell of that. The ending should feel natural. All right. All right. So we have a rule here on custom instructions. I will show you that to you as well. And you can have a look through that. But basically, don't leave these custom instructions. Mine has my kids' names and ages and everything, where I live and all that stuff. So if I ever paste an email in and it says Ruby, it knows who that is and what age, etc. All right. Okay, and of course, this is even more important with AI agents because they have skills, and those skills are important because, it's linking to the same one, but there is another one there for AI skills. I'll just check that. Yep, all right. So the third one is AI slop to do with automation bias. So get its answers, trust, but then verify. Eddie has a great video on this. You can watch that video, but he goes through this and how you can really get it wrong. Now, I had a funny issue happen in Neutral Bay when I turned up to work last week. We turned up to work and there was no water. I hadn't heard of that before, and I thought, wow, has the plumber turned off the water to the building? I asked Levi, and he goes, no, it's completely out. Across the road's out too. And I think, oh, that's not going to be good. And then we find out that Mossman's out. Mossman, they must have been chucking a mental down there. And then there was, Crow's Nest is out. Wow, that's huge. What would be causing this? We lost water in Sydney. Never happened before. Anyway, things after a few hours were all back to normal and we're all good. A couple of days later, I'm thinking about that. I wonder what happened. Wonder where it was. So I just asked her the question, was there a water outage in Neutral Bay? And he says, yes. And I said, where was it? And it tells me the street. And I said, I'm just checking. I'm saying, what suburbs were impacted? And it gives me a list. So I now know we're talking about the same one. What's the cause? I was wanting to tell me some idiot drilled something or something. I just was curious. And it said, no, the pipes were done in 1920 and some pressure, gave me some explanation. Then I go, now do deep research and tell me anything you told me that was incorrect. Okay, and it came back and said, I said this, that was not accurate. I said it was because the pipes are 1920s and North Sydney Council have not actually given the reason why it happened. So it just listed out all the things that it just told me and it had inferred from history. So always be careful to test it. All right. Oh, I want to tell you one other hot tip. This is the most hot tip I can give you. I think the stat is, I think that you can get, I will give you the actual number. You can get from 21% accuracy to 97% accuracy with AI. and you want to know how you do it, like you give it a big set of instructions and what you want, and you will get a more accurate answer if you paste that a second time. Now, when it's working out what you're doing, it's going word by word, like token by token through. And obviously it can't read the rest of what you've done until it's up to it. So there's a whole lot of stuff ahead of it that it's it's unknown at this moment in time. So by pasting it a second time, it now knows what you said completely, and then it goes through it again. And there is a paper here showing how this can be a lot more accurate. Yes, James?
Same question or two different responses?
No, the exact same. You just copy and paste the entire prompt, essentially, twice. Yeah, try it out. All right. Now, I want to talk about phones, all right? And phones systems have changed. Now, I remember the old days where I used to answer the phone. Every person that called was a customer. And it's kind of incredible, over the time. Every time you hear an English accent now, oh, that's a recruiter. Hang up. And then there's a whole bunch of people calling, trying to sell me solar on some solar systems and insurance and financial products. And, it's bloody annoying. It's become such a problem. And obviously a lot of people are looking for a job, a lot of international calls looking for a job. Outsourcing, we can do development for you, in Ukraine or wherever. And this has become, you end up being desensitized, right, to the phone ringing because it's rarely a customer. And it's such a problem. Now, I'll play this.
If I called your business right now, would somebody pick up?
Yes.
Are you sure?
To speak with a representative, please press 1 now. Thank you.
This is Ricardo. How may I help you?
Hi, Ricardo. I'm looking for a roof. There's a leak.
You're looking to get an inspection done?
Well, I'm looking for a roof. There's a leak, and the roof isn't handling the leak.
All right, I can forward a message and have someone get back to you. May I have your name?
How long will that take? It's like leaking real bad right now.
I'm not sure, ma'am.
You don't know how long it'll take to get information back to me?
Ma'am, I don't have the scheduling, so I'm not sure how busy they are.
I think I just need to talk to somebody else. Thank you.
Point taken.
Guys, this is like minor leagues. Like there are so many worse issues. At least somebody answered the phone. It's a problem. So we just fix the problem.
Okay. So she was at a conference, where people are trying to get more work, and she's testing someone in the audience. Is anyone answering their phone? Obviously, they set up a system where they've got an outsourced company answering the phone. But and you can pay a lot for that 24/7. They don't know a lot about your business. There are better ways of doing that today. And I will tell you that one of those is Phonely. Now, no knowledge or relationship with this company. We looked at a bunch, and Levi picked this. Now, Levi set this up, and he basically pulled all these nodes in and told it what to do. Now, what is interesting is that took Levi 10 minutes to set up. Levi is not a software developer, okay? He was just motivated not to answer the phone, all right? And he put that in, and then he gets an email for each customer that calls, after hours, and then he plays the thing and listens to it. Now, he said he spent about 3 months fine-tuning it. Weird things would happen, he'd fix it, okay? He would say, look, sometimes it wouldn't pronounce Azure correctly. It'd say Azure, okay? And that's cardinal sin, so we got that fixed. And then we started getting these things. There's other businesses, believe it or not, called SSW. How annoying. And one of them is a Thai restaurant, and people call up and they want to talk to us about some credit card charge on their thing that they don't know anything about. So Levi fixed it up. So it said, can you tell us the exact name on your credit card statement? Because they're saying they're calling us up upset about some charge. And then it would say, SSW Enterprises. Now, that's not our name. So it would say, oh, well, you're calling about, your Thai meal. If you don't remember that, call this company, right? So he's got rid of all these things. And there's a lot of permutations. I think he's having a lot of fun doing it. Anyway, so we create a rule. You can enjoy that rule and set that up for yourself. It runs 24/7. It's a really, really good experience. And the most important thing is when a customer calls us, our phone rings. So our phone, when it rings now, matters. Okay? I will tell you the experience. It's not perfect, it's AI, but let's see it.
Hi, this is Sophie from SSW. How can I help?
Hey, how are you?
I'm just a virtual assistant, so I don't have feelings, but thanks for asking. How can I assist you today?
I want to get more details regarding developing an app for personal training with nutrition.
That sounds like an exciting project. Before we dive into the details, can I start by getting your name?
Samuel?
Thanks, Samuel. Could you also share your phone number so we can stay in touch?
04133.
Thanks for sharing that, Samuel. Now, could you let me know which state you're calling from?
New South Wales, Sydney.
Great. Thanks for letting me know. I'll transfer you to our sales team.
You've reached Levi Jackson from SSW. Sorry for missing your call. Please.
All right. But you get the idea. Like if he had have said, Melbourne or Newcastle or Brisbane, it would have answered, right? Okay. But anyway, very good. So that's great. Now, we also have these other things, all right? Now, we sometimes have bots calling bots. And, and in this case, they're asking for Paul. We've never had a Paul work for us, so it's not us, but have a listen.
Hi, this is Sophie from SSW. How can I help?
Hello, Sophie. I hope you're having a great day. I'm reaching out to speak with Paul regarding lead generation for his marketing initiative. Is he available?
Happy to check that for you. Before continuing, just letting you know this call is being recorded. I hope that's okay. Could you tell me a little more about what you'd like to discuss with Paul so I can pass your message along?
Absolutely, Sophie. I'm calling from Callback, and I'd like to reconnect with Paul about our previous discussions on lead generation for his marketing initiative. We haven't received any updates from his side recently, and I'm eager to see how we can assist him moving forward. Thank you for checking.
All right. Sounds like you're reaching out as a service provider to reconnect about lead generation. Are you looking to sell services to SSW or just following up on an existing partnership?
Thank you for clarifying, Sophie. I'm following up on our previous conversations with Paul regarding lead generation services. We're eager to see if there are any updates or if there's anything we can assist with to support their marketing initiatives.
Thanks for explaining. So you're looking to offer lead generation services to SSW. At the moment, we're not pursuing external lead generation services, but I appreciate your follow-up. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss today?
Thank you for your honesty, Sophie. I appreciate your time. If anything changes in the future or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Have a wonderful day.
Great. Thanks for letting me know. At this time, we're not exploring this type of service.
Right. So there you go. We are getting saved from all that rubbish. It's awesome.
Hi, this is Sophie.
All right. So this is another one that we get where we get a lot of tech support calling up from random things. Now, we only work with businesses. So these ones, and they kind of can be very insistent to get through to a developer, etc. Listen to this.
Hi, this is Sophie from SSW. How can I help?
Yes. Are you live with Microsoft?
So, just to clarify,
No.
Are you looking to get in touch with Microsoft? Or are you asking about
Yes.
SSW's partnership with Microsoft?
Well, I'll give it for Microsoft because I'm really annoyed. I with the open document from email, okay? And I don't know, some Microsoft has gone on to my phone and it stopped me from opening it. Okay?
It sounds
I want to get out of my phone. I never go to Microsoft or any other third party, okay? Because it's got on their third party and you're probably a third party, right? Get that out of my phone. I don't care who it is, right? Get inside of it. You people have no
Issues with Skype.
no right as third party getting to people's phones. That simple.
Just a quick note. SSW is not Microsoft or a third party on your phone. We're a software consulting company, and we don't access devices or install anything without your request. Are you looking for help removing Microsoft apps, or is there something else you want to know?
My phone has Microsoft, right? And I used to be able to open it up and I'll get and I'll read out. And now I can't open my
An enterprise software development company. It seems that might have called the wrong number. Thank you for calling. Have a great day.
So even AI can get exasperated and just end the call. And if you ask me, more succinctly than what maybe Levi's trying to be polite and entertaining this. This is a complete waste of time. These calls every day.
Hi.
All right. So then I want to talk about the Phonely stats. These are the stats you give. Now I can see that I know when people call, usually between working hours 9 to 5. But really, I'm after saving money. And these graphs that Phonely give us aren't very good. So what do you do when the information is not very good? Well, you do what Levi does, which is there's the CSV that Phonely gives us. Build me a visual showing the time our AI bot has saved us. The human hourly rate is $75 an hour, right? So in a few minutes, he has a PowerPoint. Thank you, Claude Co-Work. And he can see, well, Adam, it's saved 1,100 calls. It saved 28 hours. If you had a receptionist doing that, it's $2,000. Plus, they refer them, usually, they send them on to the devs because as soon as it's half technical, it goes to a dev. There's another $7,000. So my little thing that I did saved you nearly 10 grand. I know, good. And this is a great example of why the reporting tools with AI is much better. Okay. And I wouldn't have even asked this. And would you like a 5-year plan? I've saved you 10 grand, this year, but I've saved you a lot more over time. Okay. You should get a pay rise. Okay. Now, I want to talk about AI for coders because this has been a big, big change. How many people here do Scrum? Whoa, I think I got 90%. That's great. That's awesome. So obviously we do Scrum for most things at SSW, even our TV team, they do Scrum and our designers do Scrum, etc. Every sprint review, and we changed this a while ago, so we do our sprint review, we talk through what was planned to do and what got done. We talk through which ones on there were AI completed. So we put the little robot emoji if it was AI completed. And then we have a section, where every team member talks about the AI tools they used in that sprint and whether they hit any rate limits and they got blocked, etc. So they're sharing all that, and across the different teams, it's awesome. So we put a lot of our sprints online, like all our meetings. I'll just show you an example. Here is the Tina team, and these are all the meetings. And in these meetings, and I'll just jump ahead to see if I can find. This is one run by Isaac. I'll just see if I can quickly find it. Is that the part? There we go. Pretty good. So the AI tools that were listed and who's doing what and what their learnings were. It's fantastic. We have a rule on how we do this. You can have a look how that is done, but we have a rule here about doing that. So it's quite handy. I think we've learned a lot just from that one change we made to our sprint reviews. And there's an image of an example. And I got to tell you, the Chinese guys, we have some Chinese guys on our teams as well. They often use different tools, and their tools are phenomenal. Okay. We also, after the meeting's done, we have an automatic email with AI telling us how we did. So let's just say you didn't attend the meeting and you didn't want to watch it online. You could say, all right, so the meeting was reasonably efficient, covered status updates, revealed concerning product signals about Tenor Cloud's near zero user engagement the team glossed over. Okay. Matt says, so anyways, just telling you a whole bunch of different things and the team can look at that. All right. Any comments on that so far? No? James, what do you think?
Well, I looked at your stats for what you're saving
Yes.
on your calls from phone. I think you're at a bit of a risk there because you lose a sales call because somebody didn't get through to you to make that deal. 9,000 can be a very small number.
Right. So James's comment was, well, I'm not that convinced by the phone stuff because you've saved $9,000 for the year, but you miss one of those important customers. That could be a lot more than $9,000 essentially. Levi, what answer do you have to that great question from James?
Very good question. My answer is I listened to every recording within 10 minutes of them making that phone call.
Right.
You would have missed a call by me because I gave up on phone.
Right. Okay. So Levi said that he listens to all those recordings and usually within 10 minutes. And James is saying, I can't stand those automated things. If I get that, I'm hanging up. Look.
I phoned you.
And did you really?
Yes.
Oh, he's telling a real experience. Yeah, right. So he wanted to speak to Yuli, but he got that AI thing and was very turned off. Yep. We're aware. I've heard many recordings where Levi's played it to me and people go, oh no, not you. It is a problem. We've oscillated back to whether we pretend that we don't have to say we're an AI recording, and some of them are actually fooled for a while. They don't even notice. But we've kind of erred on transparency, and as you heard in those recordings, she says, I'm an AI assistant. Look, you're definitely going to lose some, but I think the pain of just the phone meaning nothing before was a problem. And look, I actually get the calls as well. So anytime, like after hours, I get the calls. I wouldn't be answering that. There's more good than bad with AI. You know that the code it generates is not perfect, but we're getting a lot more done with imperfect stuff. All right. So 9 big shifts for developers. Number 1, developers in our company are spending more time prompting than coding. Can I just get a show of hands? Who agrees with that? I think I have 100% with that. Now, understanding architecture and the broad thing of what's trying to be done and like what the structure looks like is more important than the actual syntax to do things. The code review is the primary developer activity at the moment. Okay, so the big ticket item is that prompting time is greater than coding time. Now, I got this information by talking to a lot of developers and asking their opinions on where they're spending their time. Last person I called was Callum. And I said, Callum, he's our VP of AI, what percentage of time do you spend prompting versus writing code? I waited for his answer, thinking, what percentage is he going to say? He answers 100%. What's writing code, Adam? Okay. And so that's kind of was an amazing answer. Was it true? It is true, yeah. So developers are shifting from coding, and then some testing, right? And very poor testing in my experience. And that's why we have, worked on my machine type thing. Now they are going more like prompting, reviewing, and testing, right? Does that sound right, guys? Who agrees with that? I would say 75%. All right. I would also say we have had some clients come to us who are not technical. Great idea, worked out they can do vibe coding, and they're coming to us because they kind of get stuck. They want a little bit of help, but then they realize they need more than a little bit of help. So I'm going to call this 4.1. And these product owners are shifting from telling the devs what they want, testing what we do for them, giving feedback to developers. 2, prompting, testing, reviewing, reprompting. This is when we get in. We're reprompting with more technical guidelines. I was watching one of our clients was generating, I think, and you correct me where I'm wrong here, Callum, but I think he said he generated more than 1 million lines of code over the weekend. Okay, yeah, do you remember that? Yes. So this guy does not sleep, and he is definitely hyper, and he loved. He was so passionate, being like an administrator, and now he's building a startup, and he's so into it. And he was generating a big ball of mess, really. And I got a call because he wanted to escalate something. It was something like, Adam, I want you to tell the guys to turn pull requests off. This is just slowing me down. And it's very, very hard to review pull requests as big as he was doing. It was nuts. And you have to kind of look through it, get a sniff of what he's trying to do, reprompt with similar prompts, but saying, all right, so we need to be following vertical slice architecture here. Here is a sample of the guidance. We need this. And basically putting his prompts back through with more guidance, okay? And then making sure you can follow what the hell it's generated. Now, how long does it take you to report a bug, okay? I see a lot of developers see bugs and not even bother reporting it, especially if it's not on their product, it's something else in the company. And I looked this up, and it's between 15 minutes and 3 hours. People have done studies on this, right? So this is the other shift I'm seeing where people are using tools. Now, I will tell you the best tool out there is Yakshaver. We built this, and everybody in our company uses it. It is awesome. Isaac, do you enjoy using it?
That's pretty easy.
Pretty easy. So in 30 seconds, you record, okay, I got this. Look, I've clicked this, and that should happen, and this happens. Thanks very much. It then works out which backlog, which people get CC'd on the GitHub issue, etc. So here is an example. This was, so there, in this particular case, he's recorded it for 1 minute, and then it's worked out what the pain is, what the acceptance criteria is. So he didn't do any of this. He just spent 1 minute. And in this case, what is it? Oh, it's a group call. So they were on a call. Maybe they were in sprint review. Maybe they're just chatting. But there's Callum. There's Lewis, Tom I. Is it Caleb, Yuli, and Stephen Q, right? So there's a bunch of people. They've all agreed this is a bug. Let's record it. 1 minute, done. Nobody's stuffing around watching someone type up a bug, copy and paste a screenshot, all that BS. All right. Beautiful. All right. Is that awesome? What do you think of that, James?
I haven't used it.
You should do yourself a favor. Try it.
What video tool are you using to capture it?
Oh, what video tool? That is awesome. Well, that one I just showed you, they're in Teams and they pressed record and it just worked, right? However, on my machine, I use what's built into Windows, which is, everybody has this on a Windows machine. Windows Shift R, and it starts recording, right? And then it saves and it turns that into that. Anyone got a Mac? What's the tool?
Screen recorder.
Screen recorder. Okay, they get tool screen recorder. Built in, you do it, you save it, it just automatically happens. It's awesome. Okay. So here's a massive change. When does a dev first know of a new bug? When do you first see that? You come in the morning, you open up the backlog and you go, hello, what's this one? My boss has just sent me a bug. This can't be good, I better read it, right? Well, I think it's changing from looking at that GitHub issue to seeing a pull request with finished code that it's there for you to review. Now, if you want to set that up, this is how we set it up. We have a rule on setting up agentic workflows. So on our repos, we have this set up. For example, somebody complains about a error in one of the rules on SSW's website. So for example. I'm already on the rules, but these rules here, you could put an issue on that you want something fixed, and it automatically goes through, puts the paragraph in, blah, blah, blah. All done. You're reviewing that code or that markdown in that case. And there's a video on here you can watch and learn more about it. So the flow is changing to be like you see a bug, you use Yakshaver or a tool, AI picks it up, it checks whether the tests pass, it always gives it a go. If there's a problem, it would put a comment there, but typically it writes the fix, creates the PR, and the dev sees it at this point for the first time. That's when they see it. It's already been reported. They're not looking at the issue. They're looking at the pull request. What are your thoughts on that? Who's already at this point? Okay. Only a couple. Great. All right. So I think this is the major change for you guys to improve your maturity. Set up, I should double check. How many people here are using GitHub? So, yeah, probably 60, 70%. Right, okay. So, yeah, you all have the ability to do this. Now, devs are also shifting from the IDE to the CLI. And there's a bunch of these CLI tools out there, but they're definitely finding, Claude Code is a great example. Copilot also, etc. And VS Code is starting to become more of a viewer than an editor. Okay, would that be fair enough? Rick, do you agree? Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it used to be our editor. It's just where we read stuff. And the other one, and I wonder if you guys agree with this, but I'm seeing more and more. You have like a screen on the left, which is your terminal, and you have a screen on the right, which is VS Code with Git Kraken or something, and you're kind of reading left to right, and reviewing on the right. Is that how you work, Rick? Yeah. Callum?
Plus a preview of the app as well.
Plus a preview of the app. In which screen?
On the third screen.
On your third screen. Okay. All right. Yes. Callum has to be slightly better than everybody else. All right. So the intent is on the left. The result is on the right. And, that kind of flow. Except if you're Callum, you'd have a third screen up the top here. Okay. Now, the developer tools are shifting from these big ones that we're used to with VS Code and Visual Studio and Writer and stuff to these AI tools. And you know that the funny thing about knowledge workers, non-coders, they are switching from Word, Excel, PowerPoint to these tools. They're shifting to the same tools we use. We have no advantage over them anymore, okay? The only advantage we have is if we're using the tools better. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? It is crazy. So they're changed from doing their work in Word to doing it in Claude and then reviewing the work in Word, okay? All right, now, what are LLMs good at? They're great at reading a massive document. I see my wife, she's not a big AI user, but she gets a lease and she'll say, tell me the 10 most sensitive clauses in this lease, all right? Good at drafting an email, good at explaining technical stuff in plain English. I was down at Coogee. I was talking to an ex-SSW person who was walking his dog down in Coogee, and we were having a great chat, and he was telling me how he become very sick about 6 months ago, crazy sick. And he was telling me how he went to the doctors, he would get a blood report, right? Didn't know what was wrong with him. He couldn't even walk up a hill. And he's super fit, this guy. He's crazy fit, like a professional soccer player. And couldn't work out what was wrong with him. Gets these blood works. Now he's putting it into AI himself, and then he's working out what's next. And then he'd go to the doctor, I've got these reports. This is the next blood report I need. This is the next one I need. I need this. And he said, I went through this for a while until I kind of worked out what it was. Yeah, amazing. Now, it's not good at generating factual accuracy You know, we all know about the hallucinator. It's not good at precise calculations. Obviously, it generates some Python code under the covers. It doesn't know when it's reading outdated training data, and you know, if you tell it, you know, I used the example before about the water. If I tell it to read all the North Sydney Council documentation about this water leak type thing, that helped it with that query, but that doesn't go into the knowledge set for the next time you ask that, etc. So it really doesn't get smarter. And it's not very good at citing the exact documentation that it's referring to, the exact regulation. Now, so we get to this concept known as ungrounded versus grounded AI. Okay, there's a disadvantage when it's been trained on the whole internet when you're asking a specific question, because it's going to be very confident with an answer, and it's going to be wrong. And you need to know. Let's just say you're talking about Australian legislation. You need to know the Australian Taxation Office, the ATO clause for that. So I'm going to give you an example of one that's grounded, and this is one that we wrote called Beryl. Great name. Beryl will answer any Australian payroll question, right? So this is curated with the Australian Taxation Office, Fair Work Data, and this company that has a massive database of questions and answers by payroll professionals in Australia. So here's one. Callum and his team did it. I should ask, is Australia's payroll complex? I was curious to know if it was complex versus other countries. Do you think our payroll is complex? You know, it's pretty easy in America. You can just, you don't like someone, you just sack them, all right? It's not that easy in Australia. So we are, what do you think we are, high or low? I had no clue when I asked this question. High or low? Who says high? Who says low? Okay, more highs than lows. All right, here we go. We are number 3. Number 3. We are pretty crazy. I didn't realize that. So no wonder we got that client. Anyway, this is Beryl. Can you explain to me clause 22.2 in the hospitality award? So somebody is wanting, just tell me basically what that means. It's complicated. So you've got, you know, and you could actually change that. Now speak to me like I'm 5 years old, and it would make it even simpler, right? So it's grounded in all the data. It's learning from every chat, it's getting better. The Australian Payroll Association staff review all the new conversations and put a check if it's right, or put a question if it needs to be reviewed and fixed up, right? So this is used for Australian payroll. It's incredibly popular with all payroll professionals. Yes, James?
Quick question, was it built as a model from the ground up, or was it using RAG?
Can you tell me? Do you know? I think it's RAG, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah, it's using RAG. Okay. So, yeah, Callum and his team built this, and this is kind of how it works. And I'm just going to juxtapose it against a normal ChatGPT question. What are the minimum hours in a day a part-time nurse can work under the nurse's award, right? And it will give you an answer saying the minimum number of, and the minimum engagement here is 2 hours, okay? And then it gives, you know, some backup information. You would have no reason to question that. You'd run off to your boss and say, hang on a sec, you're cheating me out of these 2 hours, blah, 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 you know. Running off half-cocked is embarrassing, isn't it? All right? So it's wrong. It's true for casuals, but that's not true for part-time. They should read the legislation a bit better. Okay, so it's great. Now, this could be influenced by anything. It could be influenced by New Zealand's laws, America's laws. It's got the whole internet. It's sounding very confident. It's full of data, and it gets it wrong, and it sounds very confident. So if you're using a grounded AI, such as Beryl, what's the minimum hours a day? A minimum hours in a day a part-time nurse can work under the award. The same question, it will give you, there's no specific minimum or minimum shift length. So it's a lot clearer. All right, so great, awesome. And this is a this is a very good example when you have a good set of data. Now, I will tell you, sometimes clients come to us and they want an AI solution, and we can't do it for them. We could, but we wouldn't be very reputable if we did, because they have a mess of data. They have not organized anything. They don't, like a lot of companies really need to get, a Microsoft Fabric or Snowflake database all together, and that work needs to be done first, because if you base an AI solution on a crap load of data that's a mess, you're just going to get rubbish answers. So you need to get that fixed first. Now, the Beryl usage stats of that one I was just showing you, so far since we've deployed it, there's 400 people using it already. There's 25,000 questions answered, and there's 48,000 data points in that. Now, Beryl is getting smarter over time because every chat that they have, all those people, they get validated because they've got somebody checking the questions. Similar to how Levi checks every message that comes through from Phonely, okay? And he could say that's a good answer, that's a bad answer, and have a database, but that's how you set up, and that's a good example that you could use for your organization. The more people that use it, the smarter it gets for everyone. That's what you're after. Now, I have a pop quiz for you guys to check who was watching my slides before. Who knows which country has the most complex payroll? Hands up. Hands up if you know. Okay. The answer is France, right? I can't tell you how my heart sunk when I saw this, because we set up an office in France and I was having a lot of pain trying to keep up with all the stuff. I thought, this cannot be normal. Like, I will tell you hand on heart, France is more communist than China. We have an office in China and all the rules are simpler. So that was nuts. I just couldn't believe it. Don't ask me about RTT time or, oh my goodness, there's shopping time. Can you believe this? Shopping time. Anyway. Now, but there is one silver lining, and Callum will tell you what that was. We got a call from a client in France who needed a system. What system did they need? They needed a payroll system. This guy, and we've got this whole testimonial up here about this guy. But yeah, he loved us. Callum, did you enjoy doing it? Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah. Anyway, so here he is.
French Payroll Expert is a small company, and we provide payroll services to foreign companies who come to France. Basically, a company that just sends or have 1 to 10 employees in France. They don't have the in-house resources to know the French payroll and all of its process. Well, the main issue is that we have a lot of questions, usually the same question over and over again, and they are fairly simple questions, at least for experts such as I. So therefore, the challenge was to manage with efficiency how to answer to those questions.
Anyway, he goes through, you can watch that later, but he goes through and he talks about how awesome the solution was and how it got built and how it can answer any question on any payroll question in France. And we actually use it ourselves because it's very helpful. Oh, look at you, Callum. Look at him. Anyway, yeah. I love this bit.
Obviously, the client had a vision, but a lot of the specifics of how to implement that vision were unknown when we started, because it wasn't until we started sort of actually delivering a prototype solution that he was able to see, oh, okay, so that's how it works. Now let's tweak what you've done to align it better with my vision. And that's part of the whole sort of agile approach, is as you deliver iteration by iteration, you're able to sort of improve it a small step each time towards the ultimate goal. And that applies to both him and to us.
The interaction between the team and the client were very challenging because Callum was working from Australia, the client was working from Paris, and I was working from Strasbourg. So we had to find a way to work together.
Well, dealing with SSW's international office was not a challenge for me. Basically, having call at 8, 9 in the morning, for me, from my side, no problem at all.
So the most rewarding part for me was probably the first time we got it running on production successfully. We went through all the test questions, they all came back with the correct answers, and the look on the client's face when we told him it's all working and he was able to start inviting test users to try it out, that was very rewarding.
SSW's unique selling point is professionalism. They are pros. You got a soccer player and you got professional soccer player. They are the professional soccer player.
All right, very, very lovely testimonial. All right, so now I want to talk about how the roles are changing. Okay, this is what I'm observing, and I'm very keen to hear what you guys are observing. But you have these, we have a team of designers, and the designers are feeling a lot more powerful than they used to. We have designers making changes to, say, for example, the SSW rules, design on that by a prompt, right? And at first we had the designers go and talk to Isaac and check what they were doing. Then all of a sudden they're off with the pixies and they're making changes all the time and they're just vibing away. So they actually feel they kind of got a bit big for their boots and they feel like they don't need any developers anymore. And they are not limited to Figma anymore. They're actually building production changes on the front end. They're not worrying about CSS and HTML much anymore because it's just getting generated for them. And they are shipping pixel perfect React components without any help from our developers, right? So they are not worrying about all the handoff friction that they used to have. I spent so many years really trying to make sure that they didn't just give us a Photoshop image to the devs, that they were kind of doing all the design stuff so that the work wasn't wasted. But then you've got the developers, and the developers are saying, well, I'm pretty much a product owner now. I can get stuff done. I don't need a big team. The agentic workflows are handling all the boilerplate, getting the architecture right, doing the tests, doing the data migrations. And I can pretty much ship a full feature just by myself. So that's all I need. I'm certainly not spending a lot of time on syntax. I'm spending more time on bigger things. I'm much more important. I'm doing architecture and problem solving and dealing with the customer, etc. And then we have the product owners and managers. They're coming to us. They are turning emails and specs, and I'm not kidding, they put the spec into Claude Code and the whole project is generated. They don't need developers. They don't need designers. They're becoming more technical. They're spinning up proof of concepts, not just writing specs anymore. So the world is changing a lot. The data engineers are saying, what the hell is a query? They are just, all the complex SQL is getting done just from plain English. It's pretty incredible what you're seeing them do. Fabric Copilot is generating DAX measures and Power BI visuals. The data quality, like finding the outliers, is found instantly and they can fix that. All this natural language stuff that we wanted to do many years ago is happening, and they're just not worrying about all this ETL specific stuff they need to worry about. So there's a lot of change and a lot of attitude change from everyone. So I wonder what's going to happen from here. Okay, so there's definitely going to be some big changes. And the biggest change of all is this guy, Peter Steinberger. He's an Austrian guy. Who knows who he is? Almost everyone. Okay, so Peter Steinberger, he created OpenCore. Now, who in this room has spun up OpenCore? Just a couple. Okay. All right. So that's very good. Okay. It's very dangerous, but it is a personal assistant. It is open source. It is one of the fastest growing projects ever on GitHub. You can interact with it from WhatsApp or Signal or whatever. And it gets more and more smart over time and does what you need. Has anyone listened to any of his podcasts on any of the different shows? No? Two. I love the story where he set this up at home and he's just doing it for himself to accept prompts and give him information like, things like, can you send me the latest PDF in my email with the plans, anything he needed. Anyway, so he travels on a holiday to Morocco, and then he's over there and he's in the city, and he wants to text a message on WhatsApp, I think, to his computer back home, because he kind of got used to this being his way of working. Tell me a great meat restaurant in Morocco. And then he realized that he'd accidentally done it by using voice, and he never set up for that. And when he starts thinking, oh shit, I asked it the wrong way, I better start typing, the answer came back. And then he replies, how did you do that? And it said, well, you sent me an empty message, but there was a file with no extension. So I went onto your hard drive and I started looking for any program that I could use to look at the header. So I looked at the header, and then I renamed it and I sent it off to the Whisper API of OpenAI, and it gave me back the text, and I put that text into Google Maps and I told you the answer. He goes, shit, I never envisaged it could do anything like that. That's now going crazy. So anyway, that was the moment that he realized, oh, I gotta, get this out. This is amazing. Anyway, so of course, I'm telling you, do not install OpenCore, although we've had quite a few clients come to us and set it up. This is my calendar, all right? It is got too many appointments on it, etc. And I'm not the only one in the company with too many appointments. So I decided with OpenCore to give it a little test. So I said, I want to set up a meeting between myself, Adam Cogan, Michael Q, and Matt Wicks. Can you provide me a list of suggestions for a 2-hour meeting next week? So it must be next week, all right? I thought, well, it won't be able to do that probably. And then it says, I'm on it, pulling availability. Got all 3 calendars. Heads up, next week is no fully clean 2-hour windows. That's what I thought. For all of you during business hours, maybe it's going to suggest after hours. Adam's schedule is particularly packed. Here's the best 5. First one, Adam, you're free after this meeting at 11. And Michael, you're free here. Matt has put this self-blocked focus time. That's BS. We're gonna move that. This is a low intrusion. Okay, so it's kind of clever how it kind of works out. And then if you don't like that, it gives you other options, etc. Okay, so all pretty cool. And that's just a very simple example of OpenCore. So what's the future? Well, the future is going to be bigger and more different than anything else we've been through certainly during my career. You already know that it's going to be massive for everyone. And the good thing is, for us, we're kind of watching this and we're kind of right on top of it all. But there's a hell of a lot of people that do not understand that this train is coming very fast. So I would say for software developers, they're used to using Visual, a few big ones, Visual Studio, VS Code. They're going to be using a whole bunch of tools now to get stuff done. And there's going to be a new leader every month, and there's going to be a lot of change until this thing settles down. We've been on top of this since day one. Every week we have like an exercise where the guys go and use another tool or another technique or another this. There's so much change. I think knowledge workers are going to have the same thing. They're going to be not just relying on a few Office products anymore. They're going to be using a whole bunch of others. And in addition, we're probably all going to end up, rather than the way we work now, we're probably all going to set up a personal assistant to do things. It would be, it's going to, probably you give it big things. You might say, you and your wife sit down and say, we want to go to France, but it really is going to have to be sometime in July to August. That's the only time my husband is allowed to leave work, and we want the best price, or we want it to be, it's got to go through Singapore or whatever. I'm going to spend a few days there, and when a good price comes up, it's going to be asking you, and when you want to do this other thing, it's going to be asking you. And you're going to be getting a lot of questions back all the time over these long-term goals. So when we speak to the Chinese office, they're often talking about how clients are calling them up and they're talking about digital employees. That's how they refer to it. So they're often referring to, well, we'll have a digital employee doing this and doing that, etc. So there's definitely going to be some explosion of personal agents, I think. So in summary, we've talked about the history. I've gone through a couple of scenarios and you've learned how awesome Co-Work is. And a lot of you have not used Co-Work. You really should. I've talked about how our comms have changed and how our phone system has changed. And these 9 big themes I've seen with the software developers. And I've given you an example of the payroll story. That payroll story is going to be reproducible in anywhere where a company has a whole lot of unique data. And you now know the future is the personal assistants, and OpenCore and all those style of things are going to get huge. Thank you very much. Have a question, Colin?
How's SSW going at setting up OpenCore? Have we got anything set up yet?
Yeah, we got it set up. We set it up for ourselves, and we called it SophieClaw. Okay. Now I haven't rolled it out to everyone, so that's why not everybody knows about it. We have a secret guerrilla team, and they have been using this in many cases. Obviously, I'm wary of it, but I wanted the people that are doing consulting with this to at least be using it here. And it is all read only. Don't worry about it, Callum. It's all fine and dandy so far.
How long until we can connect up the phone system with SophieClaw?
Give me a scenario of what you're thinking.
Well, someone rings up and talks to Phonely and wants to book someone, and then SophieClaw makes the booking for them, and they don't have to go to a human.
I don't even need a worker anymore.
Well, that would be quite good because Levi's not even answering his phone. So, all right. Any other questions?
You made a comment before about report generation, and I think there's still a bit of a problem with that in fast take-up because reports are more deterministic. The data in them is generated directly off facts. The moment you put AI in there, you're injecting a certain level of probabilistic calculation. You're not necessarily always going to get results that are free of hallucination.
That's true. And you are going to have to, be fact-checking parts of that, and that will not be 100%. So, look, I think having every report available to you, and I have a lot of reports available to me, it's not easy to make good sense of all the data. There's still data islands everywhere. The fact that you can do that and make sure that you double check with certain questions is going to be the way. We're going to end up with a whole lot of prompt intelligence that people must know how to do, just like we train people to recognize spam.
It is definitely, but it means that reports will disappear a lot more slowly because people want stuff in them they can trust. But there's an extra point on the good side of AI that I think you can probably add to the list, which is they're great at discovery. When you're looking at different islands of reports, it's not just pattern recognition. You can actually discover things by what they see that you don't, even beyond it. So when you're bringing together those reports, it's discovery. It's not trust.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And we talk about this a lot when we go to clients. I'm doing some talk at a payroll conference, right? And one of the things that I learned is they don't get given very much data, the payroll professionals. They only get a small window of data, of payroll data in their company. They don't have all the expenses and all whatever's happening. They don't have access to Google Analytics or any of that stuff. Now, in our company, with the developers come in and they get given a Power BI license. They get given access to almost all data. They get given access to every piece of data inside SSW billings and all that. and all the expenses except for payroll. That's the only thing that we hide away from the developers. They could find patterns and ideas and intelligence that I haven't thought of, and they probably will do it a lot more easily in the next year with AI when it's just a prompt rather than trawling through Power BI stuff and seeing stuff. Any other questions?
Something when you're looking at the future, you may be seeing less of a first mover advantage and more of a size advantage, which is a bit of a change. So
What's the size advantage?
So Claude Co-Work is an example. It took a company of that size to be able to build something that could effectively integrate into existing systems.
So you're saying the size of Anthropic needs to build
exactly. The size of the players who can perform these sorts of operations may mean that your smaller ideas can get drowned out or bought up by the scale of what they're building through the models and that sort of stuff. You're seeing a lot of small things change, but if you had to bet, I've got to imagine you'd be saying, well, VS Code is a safe editing environment, if only because they'll glue in whatever they need to in the same way they ditched Copilot for Co-Work, at a comfortable step because of the scale and the performance of it.
It's definitely interesting that a company like Anthropic could do a better job than one of the other big players, and there's a lot of big players, Google, Apple, Microsoft. It's kind of crazy. Now, they are not the top dog at the moment, but I could tell you, they got a lot of free advertising with Donald Trump tweeting about how bad they were a lot of times. But a lot of people wouldn't have heard of Anthropic until he started doing that. Yes, geeks have heard about Anthropic, but I will tell you that the products they've released, the Super Bowl ads that they did, which were and one of the best ads I've ever seen, spooking you about OpenAI, everybody would have got that message loud and clear. I would put money down they'll be a much bigger company than OpenAI in 12 months' time. Yes, Colin.
Yeah, I would just add to that as well. Obviously, Anthropic has access to all of their internal Claude models. They can probably pump it right up to max and run it at cost price. So they obviously have the advantage in using their own tools to create all that stuff.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they use Claude Code to create Claude Co-Work.
Yes, they said it was 100% vibe coded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they obviously have an advantage with their internal models to build all that stuff.
All right, we'll take one more question. How's that?
Yeah, I've got a question. So if we've got Claude Bot and we've got Copilot tasks now from Microsoft, and I think Anthropic's released something as well. That agentic workflow, do you see that as being the future of AI, or do you think there'll be another iteration that steps up from there?
Wow, it's hard. That's a big question, and it's hard to predict. Yeah, I don't know what's coming out. Everything. When I knew of a lot of this AI stuff coming out before it was released because I'm a Microsoft regional director and I was seeing a lot of this stuff. But I honestly thought it was going to be mostly about hardware. I certainly didn't expect a chatbot to be the primary source of all this stuff. Look, I think for now, we take advantage of what we have, and that's the personal assistants. How all that other stuff's going to work, I don't know. No idea. All right. So I think that's a wrap. Thank you for coming tonight, and I will see you next month. Cheers.